Hello and welcome to Racers Now for this special edition as we take an anti-post look at the Dubai World Cup meeting that takes place on Saturday, April the 5th. And with me tonight, I've got a special guest, Dan Morgan from theanteposter.com. And the guys over there preview all of the top international action from around the world on their website. So who better to look forward to probably the biggest night on the international calendar than Dan himself? Dan, how are you?
Until Fulham's match this afternoon, I was pretty good, but the flat season has started, so I've still got a spring in my stride.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to start with the Dubai World Cup in a moment or two, then go back to the other races in time order, if you like. Group ones galore on dirt and on turf. I had a question to pose. Being a international racing expert yourself, Dan, Dubai, not necessarily the World Cup meeting, but the Maidan Carnival from January to March, or April as it is this year. Has it lost a bit of its luster over the years? Because I remember, just on a personal perspective, and I've never really raised this with anyone else, I used to be bang up for it used to be on Thursdays, now obviously Fridays. Used to love those Thursdays with, two or three great handicaps, always a sprint race, a feature. But it just does seem to have lost its luster over the years, whether that be um, possibly competition from other countries out there around the same time, Saudi, Qatar, Bahrain, the demise, I'm sorry to say, of Saeed bin Saror, for example, and way back when Mike Decott used to be there and he used to upset the Godolphin apple cart now and again. But now, a lot of the time, them carnival meetings, to me, just look like a bit of a Godolphin benefit. But I know that there's quite a few facets to that question, but I thought we'd start with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean, particularly the Godolphin angle. Sometimes you do feel that Godolphin have the first, second, third favourite in a race, and yeah, where's the competition? Perhaps with the rise of racing in all the other Emirates, which I don't remember from 5, 10 years ago at all. That seems to be relatively new.
Yeah.
That's taken something away from Maidan. But the two big nights are still massive. Super Saturday, the 1st of March, is still an absolutely fantastic card as a prep for the night we're going to talk about, the Dubai World Cup night. And I think that night is as strong as ever. So at the high end level, I definitely think it's still got its luster, and some of the races we're going to talk about are truly deep, which would back that up. But yes, certainly during the carnival season, there are some Fridays which are just, yeah, seems to be an endless series of handicaps. Perhaps not the highest grade stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still, yeah, pretty passionate about it all.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I've got you on. So, looking forward straight in then with the Dubai World Cup itself. Forever Young, who won the Saudi Cup in February, that has become, the last 3 or 4 years a double header: Saudi Cup, Dubai World Cup, an obvious pairing. Pocketed £8 million in the process. Forever Young, and that's why he finds himself odds on for this race. Currently at 8-11. Beat Romantic Warrior there in the Saudi Cup. Fascinating race to watch. They were miles clear of the rest. One dobbing the other on the line. But yeah, odds on. Is it going to be that straightforward for the Saudi Cup winner to double up in the Dubai World Cup?
I think, like almost every informed observer, I'd say yes if he runs his race. It's very, very difficult to see any of this field beating him. Just two caveats on that. One is we're talking now a week out. This is still an anti-post market. I personally never backed an odds-on shot in my life. I'll probably go to my grave without doing so. And I definitely wouldn't ever contemplate backing an odds-on shot in an anti-post market. So you're putting down X amount of cash to win less than you're staking. I find that bizarre as a notion in itself. But to do so with taking the anti-post risk as well makes no sense at all. So people should be aware that until the bookmakers go non-run and no bet, if you do fancy this good thing to deliver, at least wait until you're not going to lose your money if he stubs his toe. The second caveat is I'd say that if anyone hasn't watched that race, Forever Young, Romantic Warrior, chuck it in Google. Saudi Cup, Forever Young. Click on the first video, you come up, watch it. Those two horses, they lay it all out there on the track. It's an absolute war in that last furlong and a half. Romantic Warrior surges past Forever Young, who can't go with him. Then it looks like he's got that length and a half lead that's going to hold. And then the Japanese jockey, is throwing everything at Forever Young, and gradually in that long Saudi straight with quite a deep dirt underfoot. Forever Young gets back up by the line, not by less than a length. I would have thought there is a good chance that that's going to leave a mark on one or both horses. Maybe it won't. If it doesn't, this is really not a horse race. It's a procession Forever Young. But if it does, that changes the game. So my thinking at this stage is that I would be interested in playing a few couple of each way plays. A, because there are some big prices when you've got an 8-11 favourite, and B, because there's something not quite right about Forever Young after that effort. You obviously stand to benefit.
And who might those bigger ones at bigger prices might be that interest you?
So looking at the bottom of the screen, you've got Imperial Empire at 11-2, Walk of Stars at 8-1. Those are two actually ex-Godolphin horses, which were bought up by others and moved to the Middle East. They're under the care of Bupat Sima, who is probably the premier trainer in the Middle East right now. He has a remarkable ability to improve horses. He's done a great job with these. I'll start with Walk of Stars first. He's the bigger price. He was a shorter price, and a lot of people were very keen on him for this race. Then he goes to that Saudi Cup, and he's flailing after 7 furlongs, and he's beaten 25, 30 lengths. So you think, okay, throw out. Well, that was that 22nd February? He's got 5-6 week turnaround. He was sick up to that race. He was put on antibiotics. There was a reason for that, and perhaps a bit theme tonight. I will always forgive a horse a bad run. I know it's not ideal to be sick when you're about to enter the ring at the Grade 1 level in a horse racing contest, but he's a front runner. And when Laurel River, who won this race last year, was withdrawn. They couldn't get him ready in time after a minor injury that caused him to miss the Saudi Cup. That leaves Walk of Stars as the obvious pace angle. And unlike in the Saudi Cup, where he was taken on, if he gets a freebie up front, he's dangerous. That said, 20, 30 lengths beaten last time, maybe you wouldn't call him an each way play. The one I'm opposed to each way as an each way idea is Imperial Empire, who's a really good horse. He was beaten comprehensively by Walk of Stars 2 runs ago. So he's gone to second favouritism on the back of not having gone to the deep water Saudi Cup and picked up a much easier race over course of distance at Maidan. Really good horse. Could see him being placed, but as I can't see him winning, I can't see any shock value there. More or less 5-1, 11-2. You're basically betting to get your money back, aren't you, at 5-1 each way? I wouldn't really go there. The two that interest me are the Tesoros. You've got Ushba mentioned. The other one's at 25-1, I think, Wilson Tesoro. They're owned by the same guy, so he always puts this word Tesoro on the end of their names. They've got the same colours, so yellow and green. Watch out for the caps on the night. Wilson Tesoro was 4th in the Saudi Cup, and Ushba Tesoro was 3rd. Ushba Tesoro has won this race, the Dubai World Cup 2 years ago, and he was 2nd last year. So that's a pretty good CV for this race. Problem is, he's very old now. This is his swan song. He'll be retired after this race. He was beaten 8 lengths last year. And when he was placed in Saudi, we put it out to our followers that he was worth an each way at 25s, but I wouldn't touch him at 40s. Wilson Tesoro did much more hard work up front in the Saudi Cup. Ushba Tesoro was right out back and what was a fierce pace. I think he benefited from that. I could see Wilson Tesoro finishing ahead of him again, and at 25-1, I think that's not a bad each way play. You've got some outsider Americans in there who I don't really fancy. Rattle and Roll would need a complete pace meltdown. Might get it, but everything would have to go his way. I don't quite see it. Ramjet didn't run very well in Saudi, but is a very unexposed Japanese 4-year-old, good dirt horse with some sort of eye-catching domestic form. The Maidan surface is very different to Saudi, so I could see Ramjet, for example, who didn't run well enough to justify being mentioned here, on that form, finding it easier here. So yeah, absolutely. Playing around. So Wilson Tesoro 25s, Ramjet 25s, and a completely wild, mad idea. If they go 4 places, and by the way, this is the other important thing for each way betting on this race. It's 11 at the moment. If the 11 hold, I would imagine at least one, maybe more bookmakers would go 4 places. So that's probably worth waiting to Wednesday, Thursday to, or maybe actually Friday before they do go 4 places, because that makes a big difference. 11 horse field, that's turning the odds back to levels, bookmaker versus punter. 11 horses, 3 places, it's not so favourable. So, but Katona, this 66 to 1 shot, if they go 4 places, he's got one piece of form in his last 5 races, which gives him a good chance of placing here. The other 4, absolutely no hope at all. If he decides to put in that one, I always like a 66 to 1 shot. So 4 places, I'll have a, yeah. Wilson Tesoro 25s, Ramjet 25s, Katona 66s would be my angles. But this would not be a race I go large on, I suspect. Just having a bit of fun each way.
I think that 11 runners and an 8 to 11 favourite, I think you might be slightly wishful thinking for 4 places, given, that I've spent a lot of time round trading desks in my time that would make them squeak a little bit, I think.
Okay, we'll
But
see what the competition's like next Friday. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
we will. You may well be proven right, but yeah, I wouldn't back 4 places to be available in this race with 11 runners and an 8 to 11 favourite. But anyway, we're going to go in time order a little bit here. So the opening big race of the evening is the Dubai Gold Cup, not World Cup, Gold Cup, which is a stay-in trip where there's plenty of familiar UK names in there. Continuous, Epic Poet, Trawlerman, Al Nair, and others. I struggle to have Continuous as a stayer. I really do. It's certainly unproven as a stayer. Let's have it right. I mean, he's only gone beyond a mile and a half once. That was on his last start in Saudi, and he didn't look like winning that race at any point, as far as I was concerned. Al Nair was second in this race last year at 66 to 1. Since moved to Tom Clover, where he's had 4 runs for him. Pretty good. He was pretty good at Newmarket in a listed race, I think it was. He went off reasonably well fancied at Ascot on Champions Day, couldn't deliver. And Trawlerman didn't run often in 2024 and didn't win in 3 starts, but that does have a nice back CV to his own right. So what was you thinking in this one?
Well, first, I'd just like to come back to your point on Continuous. Have they, presented the award of the most disappointing flat horse in training in 2024 yet? Because surely Continuous stands out. So much expected. Great Voltigeur, easy winner. Ledger, easy winner. Arc, excuses, 5th. So much was expected last year.
Well, I can put my hand up because after that 2023 and going into 24, where so much was expected, as you said, I backed him for the Arc at about 33 to 1, I think. And his season was just rubbish, really. It just reminds me a little bit of Point Lonsdale, who they tried to turn into a stayer last year, that just didn't stay. He ran in the York staying race, whatever they call it, Yorkshire Cup. Just no chance in that. I don't know. I d they've obviously got the one horse that takes priority in these staying trips. We all know what his name is in Kyprios, and
Yeah.
the likes of Tower of London, who we saw in the Middle East last year, doing really well, and Continuous. Maybe if he does stay, maybe he does. Maybe they think he does stay, but they've got to take different routes to Kyprios. Not that Kyprios was coming here clearly, but this might be their starting point for him. But I just can't have him yet.
Last year was a real mess. I think they started him off over 10 furlongs. I think he might have actually won that race, and then he went to the Hardwick or something and flopped. But he does have that back class. He is a legend, isn't he? But
Yeah.
they haven't run him back over that trip. Now they do. So Continuous, Al Nair, and down on the screen, you see they're the favourite, they're Epic Poet. They all come out of that same race last time in Saudi, the Red Sea Turf Handicap. Over, I think, sort of 1 mile 7, tiny bit into this, but whatever, pretty negligible. But the thing about that race is a handicap. So Epic Pert's now favourite on the grounds. He came second. Continuous, I'm going to say, sort of 3rd and 4th for Continuous. I might be a place out or something like that. But broadly, that's what you've got. But Epic Poet was getting weight. Sorry, was giving away. Let's get this right. Yeah, Al Nair was giving away the most weight. He was on 9.11, Continuous on 9.8, Epic Poet, I'm going to say 9.5. So Epic Poet had the best of the weights. So when you take the weights into account, and the fact that Epic Poet had at least 2 runs in Maidan in the run up to that, I wouldn't at all be sure that form would be backed up, even though Epic Poet looked almost like an unlucky winner in that Red Sea Turf handicap. Back to Continuous, I couldn't put my money on Continuous after last season as per previous. But if I didn't know what had happened last season, but I did know his 2023 form, he's logical. I get it. Alna, yeah, I think horses for courses. He ran so well in this. I know it was a big price last year, but he clearly likes the fast ground and this Meydan track. I don't see why he shouldn't run well. But the feature of this race that really strikes me is you've got 10 runners. You've got something like 7 horses between 5 and 10 to 1.
Yeah,
And it
it's wide
shows you how
open.
much, the bookmakers have no idea not to do with this race, do we? So,
When I
um,
typed this out earlier, I thought I must be missing a horse that's going to be supplemented. I must be missing something because, like you say, there's only 12 horses, and it's 10, and it's
yeah,
5 to 1 the field. I thought I must be missing something here.
it's quite strange. No, no, I think they've just got lots of horses and they don't really know how to sort them out. The other ones in that mix, by the way, you've got under 1020 or 1020 Dubai Future 820, who's 9,
Mm.
and one like a good thing last time out, but hadn't run 427 days before that. Chance of him repeating that in this higher grade, I can't see it, but it was quite an extraordinary run. Double major, decent French form. Young, I get it. One that does interest me is another French horse called Straight. Sorry, not French, sorry, it's a German trained horse called Straight. He was just touched off by Rebel's Romance over 12 furlongs in a German Group 1 last season. And I think because he's sort of German, we've never seen him in Britain and he's never been to Dubai before. I was surprised to see him as big as 14 to 1. So Straight at 14 to 1 interests me. Um, the 2 others I'll mention, Term of Endearment, Henry de Bromhead, jumps
Yep.
also with staying trip is always quite interesting. I know de Bromhead thinks the world of this mare, and she won a couple of good races last year. I think she won the Lily Langtry Goodwood or something like that. Then flopped later in the season, somewhere on Art Weekend, I'm going to say. Yeah, they must be bringing her out for a reason. The other one at an absolute wild price, 33 to 1, Trafalgar Square. Talented French 3-year-old, now 4, brought out here to this guy, Bupat Simar, top Meydan trainer. 33 to 1. He's run once since coming to Simar and was beaten, wait for it, 114 lengths. Now,
Oh,
this, well, you think I've completely lost the plot. As I think you probably said earlier, I'm keen to forgive a horse one bad run. Maybe being a
that's
French
particularly bad. Yeah.
particularly bad, but maybe being a French horse with predominantly soft ground form before, not exclusively, probably, maybe it's going to happen again. But Seymour improves horses, and I'll give Trafalgar Square one last chance at 33.
Nice angle. Right, I'm definitely relying on your knowledge here for the Godolphin Mile, which is on dirt over a mile, as it suggests, which I know basically nothing about. So away you go, Dan.
Well, we'll keep this pretty short and sweet. The first thing I'd say here is there'll probably be 16 runners. This will be the biggest field by some way. Draw matters in this race. If you're wide, they come out of a chute on the mile dirt track at Meydan, and then you're straight around a bend. It's not a really extreme bend, but to be 15, 14, 15, 16, or 16 is not good. Not good at all. In the absence of any draw bias in a theoretical world where that didn't apply, I'd be pretty keen, and it's not my normal angle. I'd be pretty keen on the favourite Raging Torrent. This is a very classy US 7 furlong horse. Reckon he could carry speed over a mile, no problem. Has Frankie on board. Frankie's won on him before. As I say, the Americans often bring over sort of second, third, dare I say even fourth tier horses for this race. This guy is pretty close to absolute top draw. So both he and Mufasa at the front of the market. I get those two. I'd like to see who draws where. If one draws 16 and the other draws 3, that makes up my mind.
Yeah.
No lunch, I'll just mention. This is a horse who has over from France, newly turned 4, no turf form of any value at all. Suddenly gone on the all weather this year and has turned into an extraordinary horse. And last time out, he destroyed Tribalist, who's actually a Group 1 winner, who I think was being prepped for this race on the all weather by 4 lengths, ran into No Lunch, who swatted him away. So this horse, having never run on true dirt, comes out to the desert as a complete unknown. Interesting. Sword Point more turf horse from Hong Kong. Little bit American, probably not good enough. It's on the bottom of the screen there. Steel Sunshine, I can really see running well. Another American horse, really ran really well last time. Het Tide Nile, it's getting a bit old. Japanese horse, 14-1. Again, if he draws well, yeah, I can see him running well, but I'm not involved with this race yet. I won't get involved until the draw, and I definitely won't get involved until those extra places. And now you're going to tell me 16 horses and a 4-1 favourite, they're going to give us five, aren't they?
Yeah, I think you'll get 5, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
now you're talking. I'll play a bit with five. I wouldn't touch it each way at a short price in this race. There's too much chaos and hard luck stories, but maybe some of the bigger prices.
what was the mad race that Tribalist won, Group 1, um,
Um,
in France?
It was a soft ground race at Longchamp. I'm going to say it was the Prix du Moulin. Could be wrong on
Yeah,
that.
that was it, yeah, the round mile round a bend, Sharon ran
Yeah,
in it, it
and
was,
just sort
yeah,
of took it
crazy.
took it off at a great pace, and they never
Yeah,
caught it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from one extreme to the other, really, in terms of recognisable names to me, because the Alcoa Sprint is this still over 6 furlongs? It used to be over 5, didn't it? Is
Yeah,
this is it
six
still?
five, 6 finals, 6 finals.
Yeah. Believing is going to be having a final start, I believe, before going to start her breeding career. She has been purchased by Cornwall, and I think will run in their colours. Regional audience, Westacre, Marban, Mitbarhi, and Quinn are all very familiar names in UK racers and Irish for that matter. So yeah, really another one that's really open. 4-1 the field. I think Westacre's the one that's been making the most noise um, over in Maidan ahead of this race. Is that right?
Locally, yeah, very much so. Quick word on Believing, though. You said that, I knew that obviously they bought her with a view to, breeding her as the main end game. I hadn't realized she wasn't gonna do a full season. Do you think she's just back for this race?
That's what I believe. Yeah, I was talking to my friend
Okay.
who was on the panel on our Cheltenham preview evening from who works for one of the bookmakers, and he said that's what he thinks. Yeah, last race in the Cornwall colours, and then off to breeding shed.
Okay, interesting, right. So, top of this market, Believing, uh, what a mare. I think I'm just looking at last season, I think we had 8 successive races in which she's either won or rewarded each way back as and 7 of those are Group 1s and Group 2s. Incredibly consistent for, I can't think of a sprinter who's put together, 8 runs without a single blotch on their car. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Um, I just have a couple of niggling doubts. Firstly, everyone should remember this is still anti-post market. So if she decides to play up in the gate, which she's done twice before in big races, once at Royal Ascot, once at Del Mar Breeders' Cup, that's last November, you lost your money. So, in a sense, if you want to back Believing, I'd wait for the 48-hour market to get that risk out of the way. The other thing that, although obviously, if this is her last race, George Bowie's going to have an absolutely pitch perfect, you'd have thought.
yeah,
She didn't win on her seasonal debut at 2, she didn't win on her seasonal debut at 3, and she didn't win on the seasonal debut at 4. And she's now been off since I think Arc Day and the Abbey. It's just something to think about. I won't play her, but she's absolute quality mare. Westacre, you're absolutely right. This horse has been sort of making waves in Maidan. George Scott brought her over I think, from Ray. He raced in Southern or somewhere else, and has come over, and suddenly it's winning race after race and just picking up the wins and picking up the money. Hasn't faced a field like this before.
no,
Um, I won't play at 92. Last time out, I think he beat Pontos. I'm going to say by length. Pontos runs well in G3, G2, occasionally leads 4 furlongs in a G1, but not at this level. So Westake, I think, has got to improve again, and I wouldn't put my money on that happening in this category. How Deep Is Your Love is the third of those at the front of the market. Now, this fella's really quite interesting in that if I told you he'd only won one of his last 10 and been thumped by another horse by multiple lengths in 4 of his last 5 runnings, you'd think, well, what's he doing as favourite? The point is the horse he's been knocking into is Kai Ying Rising. So this complete superstar turf sprinter from Hong Kong, who I think I'm right in saying is rated by some way the top turf sprinter in the world at the moment, an absolute world beater. So How Deep Are Your Love, I think, was less than 2 lengths behind Kai Ying Rising last time. So take that literally, and you've got a really good one here.
Mhm.
Slight unknowns here. Howdy Love has never raced outside Hong Kong in 27 races. And also, he will never have raced over a straight 6 furlongs. So just unknowns. Um, I a lot of the noise I listen to and the people I respect, there's a lot of love for this horse, and people are saying, "Why is he not favourite? This should be the favourite." I get it, but again, I won't play. I will play emphatically, not each way, on a bit of a rogue horse, fourth in the betting audience. You remember what he did in the Lockinge last year?
Yes, I was there, and then they tried him over a mile. Obviously, continued with that at Royal Ascot. I think I backed him at Goodwood where he won. He was a mad price at Goodwood for that Lennox
Yeah,
Stakes, like double figures the night before. I put him on up on this channel alongside
yeah.
SD, and he went off about 9-2, 4-1, and won pretty well.
I think he went off such a big price because he was carrying that Group 1 penalty for the Lockinge win. So he was giving away £5 in that Lennox Stakes, I think it was. And
Mm,
he's beating the likes of Paskin Ross, decent horses. But by 6 furlongs, this race was done. He was already clear. And then he goes to win by 4 lengths, giving away £5. That performance and the Lockinge, which I think, with the benefit of the Lennox run, we can now say was not some fluke, um, gives you a profile of horses on his day. He's something special. Now, he does have to go to 6 furlongs. That's a first. And he does have some blowouts on his CV. So it's one to be wary of. But if you like, he's the inverse of believing. He has had 3 seasonal starts, and his figures read 1, 1, 1. He's mustard fresh, and I will back him to win this race. Win over.
mm.
I've already
Uh,
backed him to this race, actually.
oh, nice one. My question is, where are the Godolphin horses for this race? Normally, they have representation.
This is a very good question. Not least because there were 2 in there until they released new cards 4 or 5 days ago, when suddenly Star of Mystery for Charlie Appleby, who was, I think, second in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, ran really well in Maidan last year. I think she might have been Star of Mystery might have been second in this race last year. Um, uh, Both she and Romantic Style, who was 5th or 6th in the betting, they both suddenly disappeared from the betting. I haven't read any interview with Charlie Appleby. I haven't read anything on social media or anywhere else that tells me why Charlie Appleby's horse has been removed from this race. But no, all he's got is Rebels Romance for the Shima, which we'll talk about later, and Nation's Pride for the turf.
Hmm. Right, well, the next 2 races are definitely for you, with the UAE Derby, which basically all I know about this race is that the Japanese have been winning it every year recently. Does that sound about right?
Japanese, the Japanese and the Americans tend to fight this out. And a certain horse called Forever Young won this last year. And there's no Forever Young in here. We can be pretty sure of that. So as a result, we've got an American at the top of the betting, Flood Zone. Um, I think he's a better caliber uh, horse than the Americans sent over for quite a while for this race. He won something called Gotham Stakes at Aqueduct, which is a known mile trial on the early stages of the Kentucky Derby Trail. But he won it with a very fast speed figure. What's called a 98 buyer. That's very fast, and that would, coming over into, from the deep pool of American dirt racing over here. That's likely to be pretty formidable. We put him up to our followers when they first priced up this race at 3-1. He's 5-2 now. I still think he's the most likely winner. I wouldn't put him on it off him. Shin Forever represents, probably you guess with the name, Forever. It's the same owner and indeed trainer. There's also, I think, Yohagi, the Forever Young colours. He was second in the Saudi Derby. It was over a mile. It was over 9 furlongs. Made almost the whole race from start to finish, but was overtaken just in the last furlong. My worry about him, he's had 7 races, and he usually tends to be overtaken at some point, and now he's going back up to 9 furlongs. And I'll pass on him. Dangerous. Heart of Honour. Jamie Osborne is definitely interesting. He debuted in Southall a few months ago, and Jamie Osborne, he took Anteposter, New York, to almost win the
Yep.
Breeders' Cup all those years ago. He knows a good dirt horse when he's got one. And he said, right, I'm studying this fella straight out to Maidan. Came out here and really, really impressive. Has been beaten in his last couple, slow starts, and he's flying at the end. Hopefully they worked on those starts. They've certainly put blinkers on him for this. I would have thought it's pretty knocking each way bet. I'd be pretty surprised if he wasn't placed. You've got 10 runners here, there won't be 4 places, no reason not to get involved now. And then there are 3 other Japanese horses, Admire Daytona, Dragon, and Don in the Mood, who's not listed there. They all come out of some listed race in Japan. They came 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and I looked to watch that race. Whatever. This morning, the winner of that race has just won a Kentucky Derby trial in Japan, the Fukuryu Stakes. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. By 7, 8 lengths in a canter. Pretty remarkable performance. That form suddenly looks a bit stronger. Wouldn't know which one of them to pick. Don in the Mood finished 3rd, and the others were 4th and 5th, and he's the biggest price at 14 to 1. So when I saw the race this morning, I had a small little each way at Don in the Mood at 14 to 1, because I thought, well, why not? That form looks much stronger now.
Yeah, interesting connecting those dots with the international form. I like it. The Golden Shaheen is the next one on the list. This is the dirt sprint, but this one's round a bend, isn't it? This one.
Yes, dirt sprint, absolutely right. Round a bend. They've got enough time to get to the first bend for you to get a good position. It's not a disaster if you're wide, particularly not in a small field. But this is at the moment this is 13 runners. So 2 things there. Firstly, 11, 12, 13 is perhaps not great. So worth looking at the draw. The other reason to wait if you're betting on this race, other than on the 2 favourites, is this will be extra each way places for sure. And the interesting thing about this race, and most people are almost looking forward to this more than any other, it's the big head-to-head. So many of the other big races are either deep and difficult to call among the top of the market, or they've got this dominant one horse.
Yep.
This has got the best sprinter in the Middle East by a country mile, Tuz, who just keeps winning Maidan. He flopped in Saudi a year ago, but his 6 or 7 straight wins at Maidan and easy. And yet he's 8. I'm absolutely amazed. Again, Bupat Simar, he's got this horse to peak at the age of 7 and 8, quite remarkable. But I strongly fancy the other one. Straight No Chaser is the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner, American, so obviously that's over dirt as well. The Americans almost never send over their best horse to this race. But this chap was trained by Dan Black, who's actually British, in California. After winning the Breeders' Cup Sprint, he then went to Saudi and just blew the field away. He now comes here, 3 on the trot, very high speed figure. He's got wicked gate speed, early speed, and he finishes off his races. I'll go out on a limb. I think he'll break Tuz. I think he'll break Tuz. Almost go as far as to say might even see Tuz failing out of the places. And I'd probably be one of the only people looking at this race who would say that. You take it with a pinch of salt if you like. But no, I strongly fancy the American horse to win this. Of the bigger prices, Nakatomi sounds Japanese, but is American, Wesley Ward. He was 3rd in this last year when everything that went wrong, that could go wrong, did go wrong. He missed the break. He was hampered. He was short of room, and he lost a shoe. And those are 4 things I can remember. I think it was something else as well. On his day, he's a very, very good sprinter. Does occasionally put in a clunker, so it's a slight worry on the each way front. Remake, I think, has passed his best and has been 4th and 5th in the last 2 runnings of this, or maybe was it 3rd and 5th? But he's older. He ran dreadfully in Saudi. No, just don't want to know. I will just mention 2 outsiders. American Stage, that you got there at 20 to 1, was beaten 5 lengths by Tuz last time. Why on earth could that be turned around, you might say? Well, he's 4, not 8. Also, that was his, straight out to the Middle East, very inexperienced. He's only had a few runs. I think he'd probably improve. That was his first sighting of Maidan. And again, it's that guy, Yoshito Yahagi. His ability to get results from horses he travels around the world is peerless. So I would expect American Stage to run better, and decent place Canada. I would say if you get 4 places. The other one, I'm just throw in as a really wild, mad idea. Drew's Gold out with the washing last time, completely missed the break. He's a talented US sprinter. He's travelled over to Maidan for this season. It hasn't gone right. On his day, he's a good horse, and because of his recent form, he's been priced as if he's a no-hoper. If he breaks, and he may blow it again, I don't know, but if he breaks, he's not a 66 to 1 shot. Again,
Mm.
4, maybe even 5 places. I'll be involved with him.
Couple of massive prices there. I like it. Right, the two races that lead directly into the World Cup itself are both turf races, and they are both crackers every single year. Firstly, the Dubai Turf, where Romantic Warrior comes back into the conversation on dirt in the Saudi Cup, finishing second. Now back to turf here. Yeah, this is the 9 furlong race, isn't it? The Dubai Turf. Yeah, Nation's Pride's in there, Globetrotter for Charlie Appleby, but has become more inconsistent with age, I think, Nation's Pride. And Factor Cheval, I thought, was an interesting runner because bang up to this level, generally, but was the victim of 2, well, definitely 1, but probably 2 crazy rides last year in the UK. The first of which was at Newbury in the Lockings. That was silly race, a silly, silly
Yeah,
ride.
I remember.
And again at Ascot. So yeah, really some really interesting ones in this one. Yeah, really would be looking forward to watching this. As Romantic Warrior, brings he's the champion from Hong Kong, is he not?
He is. And no one can really remember the last time he lost on turf. He is, by many metrics, the best turf, mile 10 furlong horse on the planet. Has been for a while, and arguably his race against Forever Young was maybe the best he's ever run, because he was 5 wide, made a premature move to surge past Forever Young, only to that take a bit much out of him, and he faded on an alien surface he'd never run on before, the Saudi dirt. Yes, quite a few people feel he was the best horse in that race. Back on turf, should be completely unbeatable again. Second in the betting, Liberty Island, swatted her aside last time he really raced on turf. But just the other niggling thing, coming back to the Forever Young thing, that was a war. That race was a war. And has it taken anything out of him? Maybe not. In which case he just wins. But again, odds on. There's still anti-post odds on. I wouldn't play. I wouldn't recommend anyone else to play anti-post odds on. Again, this is one I think to take an each way angle. So this, coming back to what you just said to me earlier, makes me think you're going to tell me again. You've got 11 runners, got an 8-13 favourite, and they're
Yeah.
not going to dangle 4 places. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I just think that particularly with the UK facing bookmakers, we know what's happening next Saturday, and we know what's the priority to the UK market. So, yeah,
Well,
do they need to go out? Do they need to be going out on a limb and offering 4 places, 11 runners, 8-13, the favourite, when all the eyeballs are going to be elsewhere, and only the shrewdies are going to pick it up? That would be my thinking.
yeah, okay. If it is restricted to 3, I get a little bit more nervous about playing some of these each way. With 4, I'm really quite in on a couple of them. Liberty Island, wonderful mare. I think she won the Japanese. I think they call it the Triple Tiara.
Mm.
All these big 3-year-old races for fillies. Then she was second to Superstar Equinox. Before that, How Horse was retired after the Japan Cup. She came last year running the Shima Classic, didn't run that well, was sort of closing late. She was closing late at 12 furlongs. And now she ran quite well behind Romantic Warrior, I think last time over 10. She can do 10. She's going down to 9 here. Comes late. I wonder if this is just a bit short. That worries me. Nation's Pride is the one I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. A really, like a horse, a really good horse. Go back to 2023. It was, really knocking on the door of these sort of races, and it would belong. I don't think it belongs now. He was dreadful last year. He won last time in Maidan, but it was a nothing race compared to this level.
Yeah.
I don't give him a prayer. There you go. That's waiting to come back on my face. The 2 I like, you mentioned Factor Cheval, and I mean, why not? Again, you forgive a horse. They push this horse out on the back of 2 dirt runs. Maidan as a prep for the Saudi Cup, then effectively flopping in the Saudi Cup. They thought this horse would be great on dirt. He wasn't. Just chuck it out, and you're looking at last year's winner. He won this last year. And what's more, he won this last year from our Japanese horse called Namur. I think that's a mare, Namur. If you look at Nomura's form, you've got very closely tied in with Romantic Warrior. He went over to Japan and narrowly beat Nomura and Soul Rush. The other I like in it. Soul Rush, top Japanese miler, nine furlongs, should be no problem. Yeah, those two, Factor Cheval and Soul Rush in a line through Nomura. They're really not far behind Romantic Warrior and Factor Cheval. Course and distance, one win.
Mm.
So yeah, one thing I've just got to throw in here though, uh, Malju, remember him?
Yes, I do. He never wins. He never wins.
There is a small matter of never winning. There are just two races on Malju's CV that make him look really top draw. There's that St James Palace Stakes.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
behind
Four,
Caribus. Yeah,
Kieran Fallon, absolute nightmare. Clearly the best horse in the race, flying, beaten half a length, just cannot get a run. And then he was second to a notable speech in the Sussex last summer. It all went a bit horribly wrong after. Yeah, he doesn't run very often, but he's usually a single figure price, sometimes a low single figure price. Here, because of that profile, he's 40 to 1. If you say they're not going to give me four places, maybe I won't. If they go four places, yeah, I'll have a bit of Maljune at 40s. Why not? Two great races in his last 12. One of those comes up. This guy places for sure.
I mean, before we move on, you've got to give it to Romantic Warrior. He'd won no end of races in Hong Kong and Japan, unbeaten for years, literally years, and then it went and tried him on dirt. They did not have to do that at all. Obviously, there was a load of money on offer, but they just did not have to do that. And so, fair play for being up for the competition.
Absolutely. Only thought he'd have a go. And I must say, they always did say they'd come back to the turf. I couldn't quite believe it. I thought after that, I thought they'd give another
Yeah,
crack at Forever Young, but no, they are coming back to the
yeah.
turf. Yeah.
Right, last but not least, the Shima Classic. This is over a mile and a half. There's been some fantastic runners and winners of this over the years. Calandagan is top of the market, ran an absolute belter in the Juddmonte. That gets better every time I watch it. His run in the Juddmonte. Ran another belter in a crazy Champion Stakes on Champion Day at Ascot. Might well be the best horse in Europe as we speak right now. Rebels Romance is in there. Another Charlie Appleby Globetrotter and a two-time Breeders' Cup winner and won this race last year. Can he do it again, or will Calandagan be too good?
Well, between those two, I have a clear preference. I would agree. I mean, if runs his race, Calandagan, I think, yes, is the best horse in Europe, and he might end up the season as the European superstar if he repeats it all. Yeah, you mentioned those two races. You're right. That international City of Troy. I mean, he's the only one to come out of the pack. It was a cracking run, and before that, he was six-length winner of the Hardwick, I think, wasn't he, or something, at Royal Ascot. On those three runs, and the Champions take the end of this year, he probably just wins this, doesn't he? But always got these sort of buts about. I've always find a reason with a short price favourite just to ask questions, and the questions I asked with Flanagan is 6 months off, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he was meant to go out to Hong Kong at the back end of last season or Japan, but missed it for
Yeah,
some reason.
they thought they muttered about it, and then it never quite happened. I don't know why either. But so you've got that. You've got the first long haul flight on his CV that he's just done to get here, and you've got the break. Now, it's Graphire, I think, isn't it, the trainer Flanagan? I mean, he knows the time of day with how to get a horse ready. No problem there. But it's just enough at 2 to 1 to make me want to steer. However, if you give me a choice of him or Rebels Romance, there's only one choice because I want no part of Rebels Romance here. Um, admirable horse. I think he's won at 13 different tracks. He's won in 7 different countries. He's mopped up Group 1s all over the place. But so many, he's been so well placed. So many of them are desperately weak.
Yeah,
Um,
Canada, Germany.
yeah. So that's just sort of going back. His last race was a 1 length win, I think maybe in the Middle East somewhere over the Foxes. Before that, you've got the weakest Breeders' Cup turf I can remember. Before that, you've got a narrow win in a German Group 1 from Straight, by the way. He was the horse I like in the
Oh
gold
yeah,
in the first. But Straight is 14 to 1 for a Group 2 with no superstars in. And Rebels Romance is a length better. Rebels Romance has suddenly found himself, for the first time since the King George last summer, in a race with some proper horses. And I think he'll be found wanting. So again, that's more egg waiting to be spilled from my face. Shin Emperor is the one I like at the top of the market. Yoshito Yahagi again. Remember, he was just a length behind Economics and Auguste Rodin in the Champion Stakes in Ireland. Forget the flop in the bog in the Arc, which he obviously hated. He then very nearly won the Japan Cup behind Dojus, the now retired champion, 12 furlong Japanese horse. And he wins for fun over lesser competition, but as a prep for this, if you like, over 10 and a half furlongs in Saudi a month ago. Super solid. I was staggered if he wasn't placed in this. Again, 11 runners. No 8 to 13 favourite in this. Maybe we get the fourth place.
Maybe you will. Maybe you will.
That's whatever. The prices. Giovanotto's an interesting one. I mean, go back a couple of races, and I would have said I wouldn't back him at 33 to 1 for a race like this. But then he goes to Hong Kong for the Hong Kong Vars in early December, and it's astonishing. It's a slow pace. He can't get a run through. He's out the back. Everything's against him. He's snatched up, and it's gone. His chance is gone. But he flies through and wins, and he wins going away. And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Is it the drop 12 furlongs? I think he did whatever that sort of distance at Newmarket last season. But anyway, I didn't see that coming. Most people didn't either. So I'm fascinated to watch him. I couldn't quite bring myself to back him. I would mention two at prices though. Duretza. Well, first there you've got Denon Desal, who's the Japanese Derby winner. Don't like him so much as the Japanese Leggio winner. Duretza, who can do 12 furlongs too. He was pretty much on a par. I think he did heated with Shinimpro last time in the Japan Cup. And he's got some bad runs on his CV over shorter and longer. Over 12 furlongs, I think he's 2 from 2. He's overpriced at 16s. I will and have backed him each way. Be lovely to get 4 prices. And the other one I mentioned, remember Al Riffa?
Yeah.
A lot of Shrewdies fancied Al Riffa for Joseph O'Brien for the Arc de Triomphe. He flopped, but Group 1 winner at 2. Beaten a length by City of Troy in the Eclipse last season. Won a German Group 1, no, not like Rebels Romance by a neck, but by 5 lengths. He ran badly on his prep for this in Saudi, behind Emperor. But he had veteran treatment at the end, and he apparently tied up. Something slightly went wrong towards the end of that race. 25 to 1 is very big for a horse of Al Riffa's talent. And Joseph O'Brien's got a great record of taking horses the other side of the world and getting a result. So I wouldn't leave him off my tickets, as the Americans say.
Yeah, I do agree with that actually. I never really considered. I really like Al Riffa, but I never really considered him as a mile and a half horse. But he has gone a long way at times last year to prove that wrong. Yeah, because did he was behind in 23. He ran in a race with Ace Impact, didn't he? Ace Impact's last run before the Arc.
Absolutely right. Arguably one of the best ones. Yes, I think he was
Yeah,
less than a length in. I think it was the Prix
yeah,
Guillaume d'Ornano. It's one of those sort of midsummer ones that the really good French horses use as a sort of
yeah.
quiet prep for the Arc. Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
so no, very good horse, and he's like say 25 to 1. Well, that leaves me to ask Dan. Anti-post rules apply. What's the best bet at the moment on the card for you? Would it be Audience you mentioned or another one?
audiences in and out. I wasn't expecting this question. I might get a bit more thought. Audiences, it might not happen for Audience. He's that kind of horse. So I wonder if I'd call him my best bet on the card. You really put me on the. You really put me on the
Well,
spot here. I'm
well, Alnair you liked, Walk of Stars each way you liked, Raging Torrent you liked, Draw Dependent, Straight No Chaser you thought would win. Yeah, so I'm just been noting them as I go along mentally, really.
I'm going to go big price.
Go on
I'm
then.
going to get Al Riffa in the Shima Classic, 25 to 1 with Hills. He's shorter
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Yep. And yeah, they are fully intending to run him in that because they also had the option with him in the Dubai Turf, which obviously he's not going to because he's going to go to the Shima. And
Yeah,
yeah, Joseph, I was talking about Joseph the other day, right? Because you may well have thought that when he joined the training ranks that he would get loads of Coolmore horses, and he got a few to start with. But if you look at him now, the range of owners that differing owners that he trains for, both over the sticks and on the flat, and internationally, he had a satellite yard in Saratoga, was it last year? He's absolute mustard. I honestly think he is, and Kevin Blake plays a big part in that stable and their success as well.
and to think that, if it were not for just the genes having pushed him a little bit too tall, he wouldn't have even gone into training. He'd still be riding winners as a jockey, wouldn't he? He was too big, wasn't he?
Oh, I stood near him at Cheltenham, just gone with the apprentice who started working with me. And I said, "Can you believe how tall he is? Like, he's bigger than me, and he's taller than me, and he rode a Derby winner or two. Yeah, mad.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, where can they find you then, Dan, if they want to check out all your thoughts and those of your colleagues? Are we talking theanteposter.com? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, the anteposter.com is the website, but we put our what I call our mispricing alerts and gross mispricing alerts when we think something's wrong in the market by Newsflow monitoring. That goes on the Twitter handle,
Okay.
the _anti-poster. That's yeah, people follow us on there. That's when they'll get the really snappy stuff rather than the articles.
Nice one. Well, thanks for joining us. And that's all of the big races on the Dubai World Cup night covered there. Hopefully, a winner or two mocked up along the way. And we'll be back Monday on Races Now with a run through of every single runner that is entered in the Grand National at the 5-day stage. So, the Dubai World Cup and the Grand National both happen on the same day. So, whatever you're liking, you're going to be catered for next week here
It's all there.
at Races Now. That's it. Right. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.